you know.
Yeah, you wonder.
Dan, I installed 3 Modine heaters in my new building.
Good. I'm glad the money's coming back around. Keep feeding me.
My contractor had to search for them. And then he went to one of his distributors that my contractor's a big fish in a little pond. And so he went to the distributor that he does the most business with and says, I need these things now. And he said, well, they're all back. And so we got somebody else's so we could get them right away.
Yeah, I mean, they built, I'm actually just looking at some PR stuff they put up. Both plants for the last, in my group for the last 2 months in a row have done like all-time record production numbers.
Good.
So we're just cranking them out. We got to a point we just ran our supply base out of parts. They just can't keep up.
Yeah. Shipping them all to Canada still?
Some go to Canada. Mostly actually what we build, even out here, still winds up somewhere in the Midwest. Then the Northeast is number 2 for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good.
You do mostly assembly here?
Yeah, here full sheet metal fab shop. So all sorts, some CNC machinery, sheet metal brakes, full powder paint line. And then we make some, you know, if you think about traditional copper tube coil, like an old school copper tube coil, we make those here too. Then the plant in Virginia is all the gas fired stuff. They're just a bigger scale version of us, but we're a smaller scale version.
Nice.
Sales intake. So, different information, but our sales intake for what we do in the summer is primarily stuff for school remodels.
Right.
Really focused on indoor air quality right in the room and conditioning the space.
Oh, yeah.
So the sales curve normally kind of does this and comes up. This year it's just done that. Everybody's like, in the last 2.5 weeks, I think we've gotten $8 million worth of orders in, just because everyone's ordering stuff early to make sure they're going to get it.
Well, COVID really helped you with that, with indoor air quality.
Yeah, definitely. That and the federal money.
I put UV lights in my system.
Yep, you can do that. We do this other one, this bipolar ionization. It's been around since like the 70s. The idea of trying to make molecules, stick to molecules get bigger.
All right, Larry, you have your quorum. So whenever you're ready, if you want to wait, that's fine, but you're good to go. Just let me know when to turn on the recording.
Well, we're missing 2, right? Petrucci.
Ken and Alex.
Yeah. All right. Do you get to run this thing from home or do you have to go into town hall?
No, I'm at home.
There you go. Good. Exactly. Exactly. All right. I think we can start.
All right, let me we are started.
All right. So it's 7:05 according to the computer. So that's when we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll do a roll call. I'll call you out on my screen. That way everybody knows when they go. So Brian.
Brian Smith here.
Henry.
Henry Fair here.
Tom.
Present.
Susan.
You're muted, Susan.
I'm still here. Susan Marcus.
Joanne.
Joanna Esposito here.
Dan.
Dan Kimber here.
Larry Fish here. Brian Wagner as counsel. And we're missing 2, Alex and Ken right now as we start. So did everybody get to read the minutes?
Yeah.
Any issues? Or do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I will mention one quick correction. Joanne emailed me today. I got the name of the 300th anniversary person wrong. It's not Meg Perry, it's Meg Perrin. So I've made that correction.
Okay. A motion to approve.
Okay, Larry, one point. When I read through this, it had the roll call. Brian, help me out here. It says members absent. Joanna Esposito and Alex Petrucci were absent. Then on the next item 3, approval of minutes, it says during
Okay.
discussion of 118 minutes, Ms. Esposito corrected a statement made by me. But she was absent, huh?
He clearly can't be both, right?
No.
Susan,
All
you
right.
missed that?
That was my evil twin.
Susan, did you miss
No,
that?
I did miss, I tell you, I've given this up, I've given this job up to Joanne.
Well,
She's,
I hope the correct grammar and punctuation you still.
Well, I read it for that and it seemed all right. I did even look to see who was present, but I couldn't remember, so,
Okay, that has been fixed.
okay.
Right.
Okay. All
Let's
set,
just
Larry.
get it. All right, so Henry, you're making the motion. Brian, will you second the motion?
Second,
Any further discussion on it now that we can bring it on the floor since we've got it on the floor? Little procedural glitch. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Nays? Ayes have it. Unanimous. Any correspondence? Brian Wagner?
Yeah, I sent out this evening a copy of the letter that you signed the other day, Larry, going to Rhode Island Commerce Corporation in support of the site readiness grant. So everybody should have a copy of that.
Yeah, I was just reading it as you were chatting. What's going on here? Are we applying for a grant or is this
The town
ARPA
is.
money
The
or? what?
No, this is, well, I don't know. Maybe Rhode Island Commerce Corporation is using some ARPA money on this. I don't know, but it would be state ARPA money, not town ARPA money. The planning director, Jamie Rabbit, has already applied for the grant, and we were soliciting a couple of letters of support. So Maria Mack signed a similar letter on behalf of the planning board. Larry signed one on behalf of Economic Development Committee, seeing as it's predominantly looking at, our commercial business centers.
Is this what I asked Fran to sign on to as well?
Yes, if you asked her to use
I
that
did. I don't
template
know
letter.
whether- Yeah, I don't know whether she did or not. I didn't
Okay.
actually talk to her about it, but I sent her an email about it. So, okay, so now I know
Okay.
what it is.
So now you're all informed.
Now I'm up to date, yes.
And I believe we, at the last meeting, we voted to have me send a letter or sign a letter in support. So that it's been
Thing-
done.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I didn't see, I perused it quickly, but I didn't see the words mixed use. And I didn't know if, I don't know, it just seemed like, I thought that was like one of our gold standard words to use in the whole point of, increasing pedestrian to have housing and businesses and all that. So I was just surprised that it didn't have like those buzzwords.
In the letter, I don't think that really impacts the grant. And certainly the support letter, I don't think it's going to make a difference. Certainly if we get the grant and we start working on the redesign of the language, that is going to be a focus or one of the major focuses on what Jamie's looking to do.
I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this was submitted in response to Jay's
Yep.
campaign. So yes, that is one of the goals. We acknowledge that it's not in the affordable housing work that Horsley and Witten was retained to do, and that it is something that's desirable for the town to look at.
Yeah,
Right. Hey, so what I'd like, sorry,
ahead.
Larry, go ahead.
no, go
Okay, I
ahead.
was gonna, okay, I was gonna say, just so there's no confusion, Ella, J, et cetera, can the minutes then reflect that the intent is to include the mixed use, just so it's on the record?
It does say the reinvestments will benefit the town, the surrounding region that depends on the area as a commercial hub and individuals and families in search of lower cost housing options. That's not quite a sentence, but
Oh, it
But it
was
should specifically
unclear.
say, yeah, I think it should specifically say mixed use.
Thank you, Tom.
yeah, I agree.
It's too late. It's already been signed.
The letter's mailed, so.
Yeah, no,
We'll reflect it in our minutes. So
that's what I mean. Yep.
The, this whole thing came up because of all of Jay's research.
Right.
And it turns out though, there was no money in there. So for what we expected it to be used for in mixed use, we kept on waiting for years,
Right.
1 year, another year. And when it was determined that there was no funding in it for that, Jamie applied for this grant, which is money that can be used for that.
Gotcha. Yep.
All right, so it will eventually fund more Horsley Witten or another consultant's work. But they don't, the planning department doesn't have any money budgeted to do it. So this would give it the money to be able to do. And again, let the minutes reflect that that was all because of Jay. Hmm?
So when is this grant decided?
I think March.
Huh.
Oh, yeah, fairly short turnaround time on this, which may be indicative that it is ARPA money because that money has to get out into the process quickly.
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
Yep.
Anything else for correspondence, or public comment? Is there anybody in the gallery that I don't know about that?
There was not, no, there's no attendees.
Okay.
Moment.
So no public comments. So now we can go and you can elect your officers. Yeah, every year.
Every year,
they
don't we
make you do
turn
this.
this down? Don't we turn this down every year? We don't need a secretary. We have Brian.
Right.
Brian W., not Brian S. And we already have a chair and a vice chair and
But you do need to have elections on an annual basis. That's required.
what do we do about the secretary when we don't have we don't have a secretary?
I don't think you're required to have a secretary. You are required to have a chair and a vice chair.
Well, I'd like to make a nomination for Larry and Henry to continue in their roles as chair and vice chair.
I
I'll
second.
that.
Second or third or whatever.
I think Tom beat everybody in there. So
Ever.
Any discussion?
No, let's just vote.
Henry, you want to say
Only,
no?
only thank you to both of you.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Henry?
Yeah, I just want to make one comment. It's like all of us are so embedded in so many projects. Sometimes, I mean, Joanne's got the 300. Susan, I mean, God bless you for everything that you've done for the Saugatucket River.
Right.
Larry, I mean, you know the town, and I've been backing you up. And now Susan has given me a whole list of things to do. You know? So the thing is, just keeping it, I guess, the way we have it now seems to be the most efficient thing to do right now.
You must mean Joanne has given you a list of things to do.
Yeah, but you would if you could.
Oh, I would if I could, sure.
But Joanne,
I want to say that the presentation went extremely well.
Yeah, I want to take that up.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're still in the middle of elections.
All right, sorry.
Voter
Right.
fraud.
I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Opposed? The ayes have it. Now we can go into the Saugatuck design thing. And Tom, I think in terms of presentations to the council, I think that was the most professional and organized and hit all the, crossing all the Ts, dotting all the Is.
It was great.
And I can't say enough, and I want to thank Susan and the committee and Joanne and Brian for all the work that you guys did on that. And you couldn't have asked for it any better a result, I don't think.
Agreed.
I don't know exactly the process that it's going to take from here, but we got to let it go through the town process to allocate the funds and that kind of stuff.
can you clarify that, Larry? Are we going to look, does it look like we're gonna get the 400, close to that 1,000 with the grant money?
That was the implication from the council, but those
Sounded-
things tend to change as everybody comes in and the pie gets smaller, smaller, smaller. But I think this year, there's the opera money out there too. So,
By the way, Rich Youngkin and I are going to be applying to the Champlin Foundation after we have to talk to them, but we're going to apply to them for the for some money for the benches and the lighting, even though that may be covered in the other money, but we just think it would be good if we kept options open, and money is fungible. So if that's available, it could go to some other aspect. So anyway, we haven't, we have to call them and talk to them about it, but it looks as though we can put a grant in, an application in the June, July period and hear back in October. And we think the things that would be appropriate for the Champlin Foundation would be those physical objects of the lights and the benches.
I think that's right in the Champlin Foundation's wheelhouse.
Mhm.
So is the Rhode Island Foundation for something like that.
Yeah, but I've been through there. I didn't see I looked at that and I didn't see anything. And Brian Smith sent me something from the Preservation Society, which I'm going to explore too, but that would be a slightly different thing. So anyway, the grant writing committee is going to be busy.
Rhode Island
Oh,
Foundation is for nonprofits.
Yeah, so is the Champlin Fund. And so that's an issue. The Champlin Fund will fund the town. They will, under some circumstances, they will consider a town to be 501c3. And it could be that some of the money if we need a match, it could be that some of the money that the town is putting up could be the match for some of it. But talk about getting ahead of yourself. I'm way ahead of myself on this one. I just wanted you to know that we are pursuing, in addition to whatever we're going to get from the town, we're continuing to look for other sources of funding as these things come along. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, I strongly support you to continue to look for outside funding. You never know what's going to happen with the town funding. We've already lost or reallocated $1 million+ of the ARPA money towards a new EMS station. So who knows what else is going to come along down the pike. Also, if you're going to do anything with a grant application involving the park, it absolutely positively is going to have to be coordinated with the Rec Commission and the Park Department.
Oh, yeah,
Don't go too far down that road on your own.
No, don't worry. And I've talked to Terry because we had the confusion with the previous grant where it turned out the Department of Public Works was going to bid for something, and so we bowed out of that. But Terry, I've talked to Terry and I've made, I mean, we're just doing the exploratory thing, and we will not get ahead. I mean, our success to date has been because we have been dealing with so many different people. We don't intend to change that.
Right.
It's just that it doesn't make sense to, with what we know now, it doesn't make sense to talk to anybody. In a couple of weeks, when we know more what they'd cover, then it would be a good time to talk to other people.
I believe that the Rhode Island Foundation, as well as the Champlain Foundation, will fund recreational projects. And so I think the Rhode Island Foundation is one to look at, because I've gone down this road for soccer, looking to fund creating soccer complexes and that kind of stuff. And Rhode Island Foundation is one of the avenues of doing that.
Okay, that feels to me like I would be kind of venturing into Rex and Terry's
Oh,
territory.
absolutely, absolutely. But
Yeah,
it's
but
still-
for the restoration of the Olmsted Park, which is kind of,
historical in nature.
yeah, that's all.
Right.
So that grant that Brian forwarded is specifically for historical
Right.
properties. So that seems to be a good match, you know? Does anybody know if the Champlain Rhode Island Foundation are good for artwork?
Yes, not Champlain, but
Rhode Island.
yeah, and the
Foundation, yeah.
humanities, you also probably want to talk to the Rhode Island Humanities, whatever that thing is called.
RISCA, Rhode Island
RISCA, yeah.
State, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Susan, you may also want to talk to the Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission.
Right, I
Okay.
know all those people, and I think we will. Rich, I'm sort of Rich's editor, so I let him get started, and then I make it shorter and kind of more, I follow along. So we'll be trying to figure out what we need and who is the right, and we're just getting started with that because we just finished that presentation and that took a lot of time.
Right, but they'll help you with a project review. They'll review your project and help you to
Yes.
identify sources of
Yes,
funding and so on.
yes.
And we're not certain if the Saugatucket Park is registered as a historical site.
It's not.
No,
It's not, but I have had conversations with Richard Youngkin as part of my work with the Historic District Committee. And he is starting the work on the paperwork to have the park incorporated into the Wakefield Historic District, which is a registered National Historic District.
Right, and if that happens, that would all be done sometime in the spring. So then Brian S., we would have that known.
Right, and that's important. And it's because some of
Yeah.
these grants, you have, that site
Yeah.
has to be registered.
Right.
Great. Super. I think Randy Collins reached out to me and said that it will probably, if the funds are allocated by the town and we keep going down this road, that it would probably will have to go out to bid. And he would volunteer to head some kind of a committee that would work with putting that out to bid if it was needed. So he's offering to keep going down the road, but it all depends on where the road leads us. I don't know. Obviously the rec committee will be the one in charge with advisory from us, but the process, I don't know whether they'll have a subcommittee or a building committee or a renovation committee, or
Well, and
reclamation
don't,
committee.
we also don't know yet whether this firm Weston and Sampson has been hired, because two people, Brian W. can correct me on this, but two people on the town council have not agreed to the proposal that they made. But I think it's very important, if there is someone who is hired to help the town figure out how to use these funds, I think it would really be important for the Economic Development Committee to maybe continue that technical committee to be advising them, because
I think we should
That's-
have a separate committee for that because it has nothing to do with the park.
no, it has nothing to do, that isn't,
Right.
that doesn't have
So-
anything to do with the
So
park.
I agree with you, and the EDC should be involved in it, maybe as a liaison or
Yeah.
oversight on that firm.
Mhm.
But I don't think it should be the technical committee. It should be ABC committee, name it whatever you want. And
Well, except I think some of the people would overlap, like Rich Yunkin and
I don't see how, because it's renovation. It's not just historical. He can be brought in on historical renovation or.
no, but he knows things about revolving funds for doing facade improvements. I mean, so it's not, his expertise is not just on restoration. I don't know. I just think that we all know what happens when these consultants come in, and if there isn't some constructive citizens expertise there, helping them understand what it is we
Oversight.
want. Yeah,
Right.
I think we could end up with things that just were not going in the direction we wanted them to go in.
Somebody that should be involved, I think, is the chamber. Because it's economic development and they're the voice of economic development in the town. And so I think we have to see what the town council has in mind, what their vision is for this. It's obvious that they didn't want to be, the town staff didn't want to be involved in deciding which projects get funded or that kind of stuff. There needs to be benchmarks set up of it needs to hit these criteria to be considered and all that kind of stuff. I think we should be involved in helping set that. And I don't know whether that's going to be town staff doing that, or whether it's going to be in conjunction with this firm, or whether this firm is doing it. I don't know.
Well, we are paying the firm we are paying the firm a huge amount of the money, so
Yeah. I'm not in favor of, let me be on the record. I'm not in favor of this. Not
Well,
for the
no, I
amount of
think-
money.
I think the town needs support. It needs help. It would need some extra hands to figure out how to do all this. I don't think the planning department and other departments could take all this extra work on. This is a lot of money that has to be spent fairly quickly, has to be spent to some specific goals. And I just don't think, I think we need help doing that.
That money-
Usually the RFP calls for a owner's rep as part of the services that are being contracted. And that's basically the person in the ground, boots on the ground that make the day in, day out decisions and enables the town to offload some of what otherwise they'd have to carry.
Mhm.
But again, I haven't seen it. That's what I'd expect is in there.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of money.
There's-
You're right.
It's a lot of money, but the idea of having an outside consultant like Weston and Sampson it's not just a bookkeeping operation, but Weston and Sampson would also be able to provide engineering support to review plans, architectural support to review design, landscaping support to review plantings, all of that kind of stuff is out there and part of this decision-making tree that would need to be done. And as Susan pointed out, it's a comparatively large amount of money that needs to be spent in a comparatively short period of time. So having the extra assistance is going to be essential in making sure we actually can spend all of the money.
Yep. All right, so Brian, you haven't heard how this is going to go down, right?
The last I heard at the last council meeting was there was not support for approval. My understanding is it was continued over to the next meeting for further discussion.
Okay.
So it wasn't approved, but it's not a dead issue either.
I do think that we should monitor the council in following up to make sure of their position as in our workshop, our work session, that they were all unanimous in favor of doing this, that the money that spent elsewhere or get cut in half because they need to do something somewhere else or whatever. They're going through the budget process. Things can fall by the wayside. Like Brian said, they already had to come up with $1 million for an EMS building. So those things happen, and they'll say, we really did want to do it. We think it's a great idea, but, and we need to make sure a month from now, 2 months from now, it's still there.
Right.
And they
Do we have
remember
a
that.
follow-up letter? Should we have a follow-up letter to the council from us saying these are the things that we were hoping to move
Either
forward?
that, or we keep track of our council people and keep it in touch with them. And just, I mean, I'm not talking about looking over their shoulder, but how we stand on the park. Is that still in, do we need to come back? And that kind of stuff, just to keep it fresh in their minds that, oh, we really want to do that. So I don't know. I don't think we need to formally identify Henry Thayer is going to be the watchdog on the town council. I don't think we need to do that unless you guys think we do. I just think that we all should share in touching base with either state reps or town council people. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could, well, first of all, they haven't made a decision yet, so I guess we
No.
could wait and see what their decision is. And then, but we should be monitoring what they're doing.
Or is it too late then if they make the?
Well,
Right,
no, the
it's gotta be-
question is, no, the question is whether they're gonna give whether they're gonna hire this consulting firm. So
Right.
if they hire the consulting firm, it's not too late, because then we step in and say, we want it. If they don't hire it, then we have a different thing to sort out. So I think we wait and see what they do about that, and then,
Right,
keep
but
at
it's
it.
not just the consulting firm, Susan, because the POC has nothing to do with the consulting firm.
no, I'm just talking about the consulting firm. I'm just talking
Oh.
about
No,
just
I'm talking about the park
Oh, you're talking about the
Eh,
park. Oh,
and then the consulting firm. I mean,
oh,
I think the consulting firm is a lot bigger issue with everybody than the park.
oh,
I
yeah,
just
okay.
don't want the park to go by the
Okay, yeah.
wayside. That
Okay, you're right.
know.
No, you're right.
Right. And the other thing that's coupled with that is hiring a part-time person or funding a grant writer.
Well,
that
I'm
we
gonna
talked about.
see, with this grant that Rich and I are gonna be talking about, I'll be going around to see, he and I will be going around to see Terry and Rex to talk about that, and that will be a time to remind her that, we need somebody on the staff who can do who can
And-
coordinate these things.
And Brian, should I be calling Jamie and asking him whether he spent the $350 to join Main Street USA? Or is that gonna be your job?
I can ask him about it. If it's not in the planning department's budget, I'm not sure where he's getting the money from, so it may have
Oh,
to come out of
spend
some
that
other
on
pot of
postage
funds.
in a month. You spend that on postage in a month.
And we need that for postage every month.
Oh, okay. Then I'll take that as I will be calling Jamie because Susan, we want to join that now.
Yeah,
So we get their resources if we want to
Yeah.
help in writing
Yeah.
grants and that kind of stuff.
yeah, we do.
No, that's not waiting until June
No, we don't-
1st.
no,
to get
no,
it in
no,
the-
we
in some
should-
budget.
We should try to get that. I mean, it's only $350.
Right.
I will shame him into, I'll do a matching funds if I have to.
I will speak with him about it in the morning.
I knew you wouldn't want me going to Jamie.
You're welcome to go to Jamie, but I'm telling you, I will speak with him in the morning.
Okay, all right. Give me a text, not an email, a text. How you made out. All right, we done with the Saugatucket? I think we've covered that. We've covered the opera money, which is kind of that. So we could cover that under that topic. The business survey. Now we did two. Yeah, I think we did the commercial highway. And then we did the whole town.
Right.
So I think we need to talk about this I don't think we want to do two at the same time. So then we got to prioritize which one we want to focus on first. And then decide, create another subcommittee and somebody that will start working on getting the old one. We have all this. Jay did all that digging and either Jay has it or Brian has it because Jay asked him to dig it out. But I think Brian needs guidance and we as a committee have to decide, are we going to do a survey? Which survey are we going to do first? Or are we going to do both? Or are we only going to do one? We're not going to do the other. I throw that out. And I'm
Well,
looking
I
for
would
you,
just-
Dan Kimball.
I would say if we should wait, if we're going to learn in March from the Rhode Island Commerce about whether we got the planning grant, that might speak to waiting on the commercial highway survey until after we see we have that, and then maybe we would shape that one differently. The other one is one we can run with pretty much exactly the way it is unless we add a COVID question. But the idea with the other one would be to ask businesses more or less the same questions. That's what Jay wanted us to do, to ask the same questions. So that would be needing to update the list of who is still registered with the Department of State.
Yeah.
And figuring out if there's a question or two and going back to that guy at URI if we need to ask him how to ask the question. I don't know.
That's Al Delabita and he's
Yeah.
retired. So, but he's still
Well,
an
he's-
expert on it and he still lives in town. So I have the resources to reach out to him. So I've got him in my phone,
Mhm.
if that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And that one is a comparative. It'll be very interesting to see in the time since the last one, how the towns is focused and what priorities have changed and that kind of stuff. But I think in terms of timeliness, the commercial highway is more timely and needs to be done quickly. So I'm torn between the two. That's why I want to throw it out there. Because we can do the comparative one whenever.
My suggestion would be the commercial highway. I think there's more bang for the buck that we could collaborate with that group coming in. The long survey question one we did for the various businesses, I don't think we did a lot with that information. I didn't see it really, being so productive in helping support this or funding or this or that. It seems like the commercial highway at this time would be the best project to go with.
I think it would be good, as Susan said, to know better what the outcome is. Because I might be wrong, but I suspect there'd be quite a bit of frustration if I went back and talked to the same folks I did and had absolutely nothing to report in terms of progress. They made a bunch of recommendations and you're going back and they're going to say, don't waste my time. I told you what I thought. You said that you guys were going to talk about it and get something done, and nothing's been done. So.
You're right, Tom. They'll throw snowballs at us.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we
If not worse.
were to hear from that grant in March is not, this is
Right.
February.
That's
Right.
true. That's
It's
true.
not that far away. Well, I think we should wait and see what happens with that. And maybe even wait to see what happens with that before we decide on what to do with these surveys.
That's okay. That's valid as far as I'm concerned. Dan, you ready to contribute here? I want to hear you. Get off the mute.
Take it off mute. I guess kind of torn, right? I think there's a benefit in the comparative, but I do agree that comparative data is a little broad. It's going to be very hard to develop something to take action on and a recommendation based on that. As Tom pointed out, if he went and talked to these people before and nothing's changed, I do agree with Susan. We should wait and see what happens. Kind of give you a catalyst, a reason to go reach out again, right? Versus just coming back and going, you're asking me again, but you guys couldn't get anything done. So, not gonna
Okay. All right,
waste my
Brian,
time kind of stuff.
Brian Smith, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so you agree to wait? I mean, we can just put it on the, or as a reoccurring agenda item to revisit it and we see how things are going. There's nothing that says we have to do this right now. I mean, so I think we have time. Henry, what do you think? You're the last one to chime in here.
I think waiting till March is a good idea. I mean, it's only, God, 3 weeks away, 4 weeks away tops. And I tend to like the commercial highway district as being the first one. Because the business survey, what Jay had done was he gave me 2 spreadsheets that he got from the Secretary of State. And I compressed them into an Access database. And then I ran some comparative stuff from column to column. And what I came up with, as far as what Jay was looking for, is how many new businesses have come into town and how many businesses have just fizzled out and gone away. But we had talked about this, and it's mostly what you see in those spreadsheets from the Secretary of State is LLCs. They pop up and down. People do building projects. They create an LLC, they finish the project, they shut that down. So you sort of got to eliminate a lot of that chatter and get into the stuff that's realistic and practical. But I like doing it in March. I like the commercial highway district to have the priority.
Okay, so.
That's my 2 cents.
So
Well,
I think
I'd say
the
one other
consensus-
thing, is that if we held off on the survey, the first one we did, the Department of State one, until we were members of Main Street America. Main Street America has a lot of different ways in which it develops ratios for you to see things like businesses coming in and businesses going out. And maybe they could help us understand why we were doing that one and for what, how we would use the outcome of that. So I just think I think we're lucky to have 2 good surveys in our back pocket, but I don't think we know it tonight, what we want to do with them well enough to pull them out of our back pocket.
Okay, so the consensus is we'll wait till March. I'll put it on March's, there's your first item for March's agenda, Brian.
Well, we might
Uh,
not know by March,
No, I
whatever
know
it is.
if we go to April, but we'll
Okay.
we'll revisit in March. And if we don't have
Yeah.
answers, then we'll go to April.
Okay,
All right, let's put it to bed, but I think it's good that we discussed it. And now I'm gonna, I've thought of something that I think I can handle on the agenda under this topic. In that Henry chairs a subcommittee,
Right.
this committee that was formed because the past town manager thought it was really good data. And it was the analytical, what was the official name, Henry? You got it.
Smart.
smart.
Smart,
The
right?
smart committee.
And the SMART committee that Henry chairs has not had a quorum in a couple of years, right?
No.
Henry?
No, it's more like 6 months.
Just since
Right.
it was created by Rob Zaretsky. So when he left,
It's-
it kind of fell apart.
All right,
It's a
and
very important thing to do.
Henry says that there's basically him and one other, right, Henry?
There's myself, there's one other stalwart, another occasional one. And there were a couple on there, Susan, correct me if I'm wrong here, that didn't understand data analysis, but understood things from a 5,000-foot view as far as hypothetical, you know? What the committee really wanted to do was crunch data. And we had people, we had Jason Ralph. He works over in Nusk and he knows how to crunch data. We had the other gentleman, Larry, he used to be on the school committee. He's a big guy,
Roland
Roland
Benjamin.
Roland Benjamin. Yeah, and myself, all of us know how to build databases, crunch data from those databases. So what's happened is the town's been advertising for positions and we just can't get anybody to apply. Every time I tried 3 attempts to even have a meeting and I couldn't build a quorum. And
Do you think you could interest any students from URI?
Wait a minute, I didn't even get notices about the meetings, Henry.
yeah, they were during the summer.
Oh, yeah, it's true. During the summer, we couldn't get a quorum.
Right,
You remember, Susan, you remember? Because
All I wanted to touch base with, and I don't want to vote on anything tonight or anything else. I want it to be another separate line item, agenda item, so we can talk about it further detail and maybe vote on whatever we want to do. But I wanted to get it out in the open and talk a little bit about it. I didn't want to get into the weeds, but make sure the entire committee knew about it, and maybe we can then do a subcommittee of this committee with Henry as the head of that subcommittee, and he has volunteers, kind of like we did the same kind of model that we did with the Saugatucket, where we have experts, and that way they can do their work, and then we can report back or produce the data for the town. And I think the data is important, and I think
Okay.
could help out immensely. And I don't want it just to fall by the wayside.
Well, I just want to add to what Henry said about what this committee did, because the town has a rather limited, the town has, guess what, a whole bunch of silos in which they collect some miscellaneous, I don't want this to sound too bad, they collect data in those silos. And then the silos don't know what's going on one to the other. And the important thing that this committee was doing just to lay the groundwork, because there weren't a whole lot of numbers to crunch on anything, was to find out who was collecting what data and for what purposes and at what periodicity and how it was stored and how it was used. And so that was what we were doing. We were interviewing all the different town departments to see what kind of data they collected and how they used it. And I think we need to be doing some more of that. It's just that it doesn't match. It was very much Rob's thing and it doesn't match Terry's thing. And then people were concerned about whether this was so much Rob's thing that it wasn't going to fly
Yeah.
anymore. So,
So we
but
can sort of reset.
we need to keep doing what we were doing. We were talking to the police department about what they collect, and then we were using Carol Baker in Brian Wagner's department. She did a couple of really innovative maps for us to show us to map some of that traffic information and whatever. And there's a big potential, I think, for doing things with what the town has and for helping different departments determine what it is they need to collect going forward in order to have some basis on which to make decisions.
Okay,
So-
so I think that it's valuable to continue the work of that committee. But according to Henry, that committee really hasn't been able to do anything because they can't have a quorum and and so
That's right.
by taking it under our committee, now they can work as a subcommittee and not worry about quorums because you can't even have a quorum in a subcommittee. And they can do their thing with volunteers, just like the Randy Collinses and everything else. And between now, we'll put it on next month's agenda, but between now and then, I'll try to talk to Terry. And because I don't know, it started out here, but I don't remember whether it got pushed through by Rob Zaneski as a subcommittee of ours or its own committee. If it's own committee, then the town council has the authority to put it back in us.
Yeah, no,
But-
it's its own committee. It's listed on the website. It has its own mission. It's a separate
Right.
committee that Rob created.
Yeah,
So,
we
so
got it
I
this
will, let me run through in the next 4 weeks where that stands and whether that's something we can do. And
Yeah, because
then,
there were people on that committee. They were not the data crunchers, as Henry said, but they were people who knew how to, there were people who knew how to write surveys. There were people who knew how to analyze public health things. I mean, it was a good committee.
Mhm.
And it had many different strengths. And it's just that when Rob left, the committee wasn't sure
right,
what
right.
was
We didn't
happening.
want to waste their time. I don't blame them.
And
Well,
also-
we
and
ran
also
into
there were
we ran into the
resignations.
summer thing where people suddenly could start traveling and so they weren't around. And so, and then Terry didn't express a big interest in it. She doesn't really, it's not her thing. And so it's in hiatus, but it would be
Okay.
good to bring that committee back.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's what I'll do. I'll run it up the flagpole to see if there's any interest. And you're all now informed about that. And you can be thinking of that so that I can put it officially on an agenda item next month. And we can talk about it some more and do nothing. If I come back and say the town doesn't want to do anything about it. So it's moot, but I'm trying to save the data and the time that these people have spent. And as Susan said, it's valuable information.
Yeah.
So that's what we'll do, all right?
Okay, but Larry, keep in mind, we have 2 openings on EDC right now,
Yes, yep,
2 empty
Yep.
seats.
yep.
Okay,
We could bring some on, but then you run into quorum issues too, Henry.
yeah,
Can't have a quorum in the subcommittee,
yeah,
all right? So,
okay.
so it's 2 tight ropes that we're walking. So that I don't violate the open meetings law anymore, huh, Brian Wagner? Yeah. Okay, so I think we covered that one. There was one other thing I thought of, but that I was gonna cover under this, but I can't think of it right now. Let's go into commercial highway district. Maybe I'll think of it under that and weasel it in. I think we want to do this. Brian Wagner, is it still the hope of staff to get a work session together with just the planning board and us? Or did we get our work session and we used it all up on the Saugatucket River with the town council?
I thought that, somebody had been talking to Maria Mack about that, and I'm not sure she ever came back and talked to Jamie about putting it on an agenda. So it sort
That
of,
would be me. I was
it
talking. to
sort of
Maria.
died.
Because
Okay.
we're kind of like talking every other day. And that was one of the topics. So I know it was her appetite to get it on the thing, but I think that again is waiting for funding with Jamie.
Well, I think if the site readiness grant comes through, that changes a lot. Because now all of a sudden we have a pot of funds to do work that we weren't going to see money for 2 years or 3 years. So it, brings it right to the forefront of project work for the planning department.
Okay, so everybody feel comfortable on, I'll make sure that will be on next month's agenda so we can see whether we have money or not. If we have, I'll talk to Maria, and Susan can talk to Maria, and see. Maria didn't want to wait till April when I talked to her in December. But then applying for the funds wasn't in the cards back then. So that's changed a little thing, and obviously if we get the money, then they don't have to, nobody in planning has to tiptoe around that the Horsley Witten isn't going to handle the commercial highway district anymore. That's out in the open, but if we get the funding, it will be right at the top and will be funded to do. The planning board is not against it and is holding it up. Not like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And they back burner things. It's, they want to aggressively research it and bring it down the path. But again, the funding wasn't there. All right. Any further discussion on that? Okay, Ms. Esposito. It's your turn on the hot seat tonight.
All right, the 300th anniversary, the progress. We haven't had a meeting since our EDC meeting, so just FYI, but there has been behind the scenes progress that I can update you on. As you know, my fellow EDC members, Brian Smith and Henry Thayer are on the committee. So guys, please, feel free to add whatever you want to add. Just to give you an update, we did get confirmation on our 4 honorary chairs to the committee. They are Reverend Wallace Hazard, Joe.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Joe Patrick, retired Justice Indeglia, and Sandra Pates. So we've got the Native American component as well on the committee. So we have a great start in that sense to have that representation, a positive, overall representation of the committee. So we're thrilled, and we'll tell everybody on Tuesday, February 8th is the next meeting. So that was really great news. I'd like to share the graphic that we had been proposing. Is that something I can do?
You should be able to share as a participant. So you click the share screen button at the bottom, and you will then get multiple windows that come up. Pick the window that has your document in it.
Yeah. For some reason, it's not coming up.
Do you have it open? Do you have
Yeah, that's
the
what I
document
thought I had it
open?
open. I thought I had it open, but maybe I didn't. There it is. Okay. Are you all seeing it?
The 300th? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we had someone from URI's publications do freelance for us, and we had about 5 different designs, actually more than that. And it came down to that we wanted Town of South Kingstown written in the logo. We have input that we wanted the seal incorporated. We wanted the 300 bold in the middle going across, even few samples were in an arch, and different things like that. And then we wanted 1723 to 23 being prominent, and we wanted a ribbon to show like anniversary. It can be presented in 2 different color themes whenever you're, posting it on something. So this is what we had come up with. And actually, I hope to get the agenda out to the committee tonight through our secretary, Megan Perrin. So I just wanted to share this. I know this is an advisory group, so I just wanted to get any feedback. One of the hard things that we had as a committee was, what the heck is that thing in the seal? Is it a tree? It's an arrowhead, an arrow point. And looking at research with the town, it was like they had to go in what they call the vault to find out when did it get incorporated into the town, on the seal, on records and things like that. It was like the 1890s that they incorporated it, and it was approved on by the town council. So it's interesting how it was really something that was hard to find. So I wanted to share that and just get your input before I send it out. It was I can show you, if you want me to show you a couple others, but does anybody have any like bad negative reactions to this?
I guess my only comment is there's some space there that's open, and maybe it's just for cleanliness and cleanliness of design. Maybe it should be open. Just feels like that some of that space there under town and under Kingstown, that area just could be used for something.
Maybe make the seal a little bigger in the white one?
Yeah, maybe, right. It doesn't seem celebratory. It's factual, but it doesn't jump out as a celebration. And maybe it can't. That's just my comment. And I'm not sure what I would do to try to get it.
Well,
Want
I have
some multiple color fireworks, Tom, on either side.
Honestly, I don't have anything in mind. That was just my comment. I don't know.
Is it, Joanne, are these, it's the same seal, and this is just showing us how it would be used with a blue field and with a white field?
So
And
we
depending-
hope, we hope to put this on the website when we're putting it on posters and stuff. We'll have this at the bottom, or at the top of a poster, and then the name of the event would be this or that, but that would always be incorporated on different things. It will be on the town websites, hopefully on the letterhead for the year 2023. I want to show one that is a design without the, hang on, it doesn't have the, so there's this one, it doesn't have the arrowhead.
Right.
Deal.
And the reason I did that was I did get a little bit of negative feedback that an arrowhead can sometimes have a negative connotation. So I asked our freelance to design this, and I was going to send both to the committee and decide on both and choose one. I'm kind of,
Joanne, the issue with the seal, that if you tried to put that, say, on a t-shirt or have it embroidered on a polo shirt, it won't work. There's too much detail. It wouldn't come out. Where what you're showing now is simpler, and simpler is better. If you're
Yeah.
gonna try to put these on T-shirts and polo
Yeah.
shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that.
Well, this is almost the same as the other one, but it doesn't have the arrowhead. Are you saying that the town seal with the arrowhead, it won't come out well?
Yeah, the
Yeah, if
town-
you talk to any of the companies that make, that, like graphic expressions and stuff like that, they'll say they can't do it.
Yeah, that's
too much
the
detail.
town, the town seal really needs to be simplified. The fact that you can't tell that that's an arrowhead until you're told
Yep, that's
is a
what.
bad sign.
So then I think I will share both with the committee, because I asked the freelancer to design one more, because I like the little dots around I like the Washington County, the Rhode Island, I like the ribbon, 300's big, 1723, 2023, it incorporates everything except the arrowhead.
Well, except the seal. But the seal really needs to be standing by itself and enlarged in order to be read.
Right. This is much,
Much
Yeah, this is cleaner.
simpler.
Yeah, I know it's officially Washington County, but the swamper in me, the honorary swamper in me would say South County. Rhode Island.
South County, yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
I
be funny
would-
if we changed it just for the anniversary, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, if you did a poll, people would say that they live in South County, they don't live in Washington County.
Well,
Yeah.
I think in terms of simplifying it, if it just said South Kingstown on the top and Rhode Island on the bottom, and you took out Washington County, it might be better as well.
Yeah.
Have,
Well,
South
that's a
County.
possibility.
Yeah, that's less traffic.
yeah.
Yep, yep.
Joanne, I would, before I would discount having the shield, I understand what Brian is saying about when you're embroidering stuff. But technology is really something now, and I would just ask an embroiderer whether they could do it. Show it to them, they email it to them, and don't assume that they can't do it, is what I'm trying to say.
Can
Let
we-
them
can we-
tell you that they can't do it.
Or the other thing to do would be to ask to have the seal simplified for certain circumstances, so that you just get rid of some of the detail in it. You rework it a little bit so that it keeps, I mean, I kind of like having the arrowhead because, except that 300 years ago, we were stealing this land from the Indians, not honoring their ownership of it, but
Yeah. I was surprised when I looked up, if you look representation of an arrowhead, it actually has some good things about survival and,
Yeah.
very
take it-
positive. I
I
thought that
take
this
it
was
as,
negative.
I take it as a reference to that time, almost a statement of homage to it, as opposed to bringing up the bloodshed, but yeah, that's.
Yeah,
the
Right,
flip side.
yeah, I took it as homage and it's a survival and it showed strength. And so that an arrowhead showed strength and it was on a lot of things. Roland Hazard actually had a collection and apparently and things like that. So I think maybe what.
I used it in the slideshow. I used arrowheads
Yeah.
in the slideshow.
So
to
that's my predicament is that the committee really wanted the arrowhead, but then, we had that. So it's kind of
Well,
hard.
can you go back to that image because maybe you can take this town seal and give it to a graphic designer and have the graphic designer strip out a bunch of stuff. See, it says South Kingstown, Washington County. Maybe you just keep the incorporated 1723 portion there and you take out the text. So you deal with the seal by slightly redesigning it. I think that's what,
Yeah.
I would go to like Wayne, and you're the person that did this I think that's a JPEG file. I don't know what I'm talking about here, other than I've done a lot of t-shirts and sweatshirt embroidery. And and I would give it to them in the form that they want it. They'll do a sample for you. And then you see for yourself, could you tell it was an arrowhead? Is it too busy? You don't want to take out things and then open yourself up well, that's not really the seal because it doesn't have this,
See,
it doesn't have
yeah.
that.
We
I would-
voted that we wanted the seal incorporated. The seal has the arrowhead. So with the
I
committee,
mean,
that.
uh,
that's why
Okay, but I'm
Find
just-
what you
I'm-
have, I think you can do that. Bring
I'm
it to
just saying, if
somebody.
you could still say you have the seal, if you took the text out around the thing, you can, I'm sure that the seal would be legible as a seal and considered the seal. You've got Town of South Kingstown somewhere else. I don't know. It needs no, I wouldn't go to Wayne because Wayne is just the t-shirt guy. I'd take it to a graphic designer. But
You
then,
want an
we have a
embroider,
designer. We have a designer, the freelancer who,
right? You want an embroiderer and you want a sample of it. Each way on white and on blue. And they can do that electronically and it will go right into their electronic embroiderer. And they'll do it. They could do it with different colors. They could do whatever. And they do it all the time. It's samples. But you're generally doing it with whoever you're gonna get the equipment.
so not to spend too much time on this, but one of my thoughts is around the circle, if you can see the cursor, see the points that are here?
Yeah.
Bring that around. And then I like Susan's idea of just having incorporated with the arrowhead in the middle bigger. So people can see that.
Can,
'Cause
How
people
do-
can tell
Joanne,
it is.
can people tell that it's an arrowhead? Or do you have to tell them? And I'll give you an example. Federal Hill with the arch, is that a pineapple or a pine cone?
It's a pineapple.
You can't tell when you look at it. Is it a
Right.
pineapple or is it a pine cone?
So we'll let people
You have
get,
to tell them what it is. And so that you got to have the same issue with this, with the arrowhead, where people are gonna look at it, if it's on a t-shirt or something, what is that? You say, well, that's an arrowhead. Oh, okay. I couldn't tell what it was or what it is.
Joanne,
yeah,
if I might make two observations. One, if you're gonna have 1723 to 2023 on your design, then the words incorporated 1723 are a little redundant. Even though it is technically part of the seal. And you could, if you want to keep the arrowhead, ask your graphic designer to see if they could give you a more simplified illustration of an arrowhead for design purposes. It will technically deviate from the town seal, but it will be more reproducible, as Larry says, for embroidery or t-shirts or stuff like that, and more recognizable.
I think just an outline of an arrow would be more self-explanatory. This thing is giving texture to the actual arrowhead, and that's what might be difficult to reproduce.
That's sort of what I'm suggesting. You could do more of a line drawing as opposed to a detailed three-dimensional sort of representation.
Right.
oh,
But I
God,
would have the embroiderer give you the suggestions. I wouldn't just, as lay people, say, well, let's try this, let's try that, and then send them to them. I would.
but wait a
talk
minute,
to
I'm
the
not
embroiderer.
a layperson. I'm a Yale University graduate of graphic design, so I have some idea here, but I'm finished.
No, I just,
So let
I
me
just
ask
like
you this.
experts making those kind of decisions.
Wayne Cahoon should I go to, or do you think because the freelance is just doing graphic stuff, he's not doing printing.
Wayne has a sense of civic pride and he might be able to do it. I don't think he would actually do it. I think he has an embroiderer that works for him that he subs stuff to. But I would start by talking to him, ex town council person, You know, you're talking about the town's 300th. I think that he would tell you, no way. He'll look at it in 2 seconds, say no way or whatever, or he would give it to his embroiderer in a JPEG file or whatever, and then they would run it and you'd see it right in your hand. And I think that's the way.
I
to
like
go.
the idea of just
Opposed
an
to-
arrowhead, but it doesn't, you wouldn't recognize it as South Kingstown's look, you know? I guess that's okay.
You could give,
beat
you
me
could
to
give
the
South
bus.
Kingstown a new logo.
Yeah, well, that's something that Samantha Fry Cullen with the Tamaquag was hoping that we get away from the arrowhead seal.
Hmm.
And that's why I thought that we go back to the one without a, this one.
We can replace it with an Amazon logo.
I almost like this one, keeping this and then just taking out Washington County. I liked,
Yeah,
I think this is cleaner. It kind of has a look like South Kingstown's logo.
right. Mhm.
The ribbon is better to me.
Yeah.
And I think if it's just Rhode Island on the bottom, it's gonna look cleaner, and South Kingstown can be a little bit bigger maybe.
Sounds like you're gonna have a long meeting on February 8th.
I know, and I can't, I have so many other things to talk about, but do you think if this is the one to go with without the arrowhead? If we
Yeah.
do that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I would tell you, I would do this last on your agenda.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I am going to go contact with Wayne Cahoon about that to share. I appreciate your input, guys, because that really has been stumping me, so thank you. In terms of proposals, we're gonna be, I'm still just drafting an outline of a proposal that we're gonna hit on to everybody. We're gonna present them on the 8th and then hopefully vote on in 2 weeks. I'd like the committee to meet every 2 weeks for a few months, just to kind of get a lot of decisions made. And so we can start with fundraising, get a budget clear. But the first things we have to work on are commemorative projects and programs. One of the big art connections that we made is with Jen Ferry. She's the associate director or assistant director of the South County Art Association, and she'll soon be the director. What was great about her is that she is ready to help us with the process of going out to bid, call for art. It's called Call for Art. And basically she will help me with the proposal. We will bounce it off Randy Collins for the RFQ, request for qualification, call for entry, kind of the same thing, call for entry, request for qualifications. So together, working with Randy and Jen, we hope to have something for up to 75,000 that they have to submit it by April 1st. We'll have like a group that has to decide, like a judging first and then the committee ultimately. So I just wanted to give you that good news that she has connections with, RISCA, Native nonprofits, local nonprofits, so we can get local artists basically to submit some artwork. So that was all great news. Just wanted to share that.
Are there any constraints? I'm curious, other than the cost, the 75K, size wise or media wise, or is it just an open call?
Well, there are 3 art things that we thought we were going to request for. One, sculpture, a bronze sculpture, a mosaic, and the third, a mural. So for instance, we're thinking a mural on the wall at the Duck Press, right?
Oh,
where
okay, yeah.
Dock is.
Mhm.
Thinking of possibly something around the bike or at the Peacedale Rotary where the tree is, to put something beautiful there. We're thinking of ceramic tiles, somewhere, and certainly some kind of sculpture. Of course, I'm kind of leaning towards the Saugatucket area, just for our affinity with this whole damn Saugatucket program. So, my EDC hat keeps going in that way. But we have like 9 or 10 different locations, from in Matunic to Peacedale, Wakefield, Kingston Library, We're looking to possibly renovate, refurbish the South Road Route 138 South Kingston Well. You know, that there's a lot of great things in addition to banners and flags that we'd like to post, would like to probably promote planting bulbs in the fall to come out blue, white in the spring, so that you come down that road from Tower Hill and it's in the middle is all blue, white, you know, tulips or something. Maybe decorative lighting that we light up the guild and have a bonfire right there at the guild in the winter time. We're going to be having a kickoff, probably a first night on December 31st. So there's a lot of ideas that we have rolling. We just have to confirm them all and then get going. So there's really a lot to do. We have $10,000 funding from the town so far, and we're hoping to get another 20 in the next fiscal year. And then from there, it's a lot of fundraising. I am interested in what Susan was bringing up about the Rhode Island Foundation and requesting some funding from that in addition to RISCO that we already thought about. So thank you, Susan. I think that is about it. We have a URI intern to help with marketing. So that was positive. But one of the good things too is Henry and I are meeting with the high school principal tomorrow. We have to go to the principal's office. We're going to be collaborating with Principal McGare on ways the high school students can get involved. So Henry has agreed to be the chair for high school project celebrations, and Brian has agreed to be the grant administrator to help look into, and Brian, if you can do this now, the Rhode Island Foundation, see if we can have any funding for artwork. That would be really great. So I think that's in a nutshell, unless Brian and Henry have anything else to add.
All right, thank you.
No, I do, you know, we should take advantage of the Historical Preservation and Heritage Commission. They do have a grant program in South Kingstown. Just looking at who got in 2021, who got awards, but the South County History Society got $42,000. I don't know what they got it for, but
They got it to redo their roof.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
they have a building.
yeah, the jail and
Oh, okay.
on
Kingston?
yeah.
They've actually done quite a lot of work over there. Erica Luke has done a lot of work, particularly interior with air conditioning and HVAC equipment to preserve documents and whatnot. So they've done a lot of work over there.
The $42,000 has to be matched too. So Erica's looking for she's looking for people to contribute to make, so she makes the match.
You know, I should mention Brian Smith found a grant that we're looking to have the signal station at the Kingston station, that tower there, it's pretty much empty, possibly come up with seed money, a grant for seed money to do an architectural engineering proposal, what it would cost to refurbish it into a museum. Maybe get railroad car there, a caboose or something like that, you know, and make it a railroad museum. So that would be really cool for school groups to go. It would be a great tourist attraction. John Desmond is a new resident into South Kingstown. He joined the committee. He's been fabulous. He's looking into creating a brochure on the Narragansett Railroad, the Narragansett Pier Railroad, refurbishing the signs on the bike path, because he was just walking out on the bike path the other day and he asked someone, do you know what this bike path is? And so many people don't know it was a railroad track, you know, turned over to a bike path. So we thought to have more interpretive signs along the bike path. So he's been great. So the railroad and the history of it in South Kingstown and how impactful it was in the growth of the town is going to be a big historical component in terms of our speaker series.
You know, there is a group that used to have the museum, the museum.
Kingston, yeah. Friends of,
Um,
yep.
I'm a member of that group.
Oh, good. Frank
The-
Hefner and that, yep.
Yeah.
So we're looking to use that Kingston, Friends of Kingston Station to actually be the authors. I think Brian Smith was saying you have to have them be the authors and not the 300th.
Nonprofit. There's funding in the Rhode Island Foundation just for Kingston, but it's for nonprofits. So if the Friends of the Kingston Station, they go.
Oh,
out,
yeah,
they-
that's right. There is,
If they
that's right.
get their
There-
IRS number and get nonprofit, and they can make the application.
There you go, Brian. Good job. Okay. Brian Wagner, you want to update us on anything going on in town?
In terms of the monthly update?
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, everything that's on the list is moving forward. We've had several meetings with South County Hospital, and it sounds like we've come to an agreement on some changes to the master plan requirement that everybody can live with. It's on for the next work session with the planning board.
Is it going to address parking there?
It is going to continue to address parking. Parking is always going to be an issue there. We've had discussions with the hospital about how to come up with better ways to gauge how they are actually impacting the parking situation there, other than applying numbers out of a traffic study book. So, they will be looking at actual throughput of workers and patients and how parking is used to justify the amount of spaces that they have over there. The Plant-Based Compassion Center is continuing to move forward. They opened the public hearing last month and are continuing it through this month. Everything, the other two matters are, fairly minor. The High Street one is, we've run into a couple of snags with some old violations over there that we're going to work with the owner to get fixed. And again, the Burger King, it's, they're putting in the second drive-through, and they've got some challenges on a small site with the traffic flow over there that they're having to deal with. They're also having to deal with some landscaping issues. It seems that when the restaurant changed hands recently, some of its landscaping went MIA. So they're going to have to replace some of that.
Okay. Any other update from the planning department?
I have nothing else to add. No. Other than the things that we talked about during the meeting.
Yep. All right. So our next meeting is March 3rd.
And we've heard nothing about extension of orders or anything like that. So as of right now, that meeting will be in person back in council chambers.
Yeah, because I received an email. I think it was an email. No, it wasn't an email because I didn't look at email. On Facebook or whatever, there's a whole group sending in stuff to the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate to do away with the executive orders, not to allow the governor to extend them anymore, and that would end mass mandates in the state, and that's why they're doing it. So. So having Zoom meetings might go by the wayside because of the push that they're trying to do to get rid of the masks. That's all. I just saw it come twice to me today. you know. So, anything else? Anything going on in town?
I see LG is leaving.
Yep. I understand that there's some issues with the building. And obviously it's not the greatest economic times.
What are the issues with the building?
I don't know. I mean, it's an old building. I mean, all those buildings are old right there.
Yeah.
You know, goes back to the woman that owned them all, that used to run had the parking lot across from the ferry that everybody parks in, not the one behind the hotel, but the other one. The woman that owned that and ran it for all those years, that sat out there and collected all the $5 and all that kind of stuff. She owned that block. And somehow it got from her to Wayne. And I think there might have been in a will or whatever, but that's how Wayne has that property there. So,
Oh, so Wayne owns that building?
yes, it's my understanding, not the old bank building,
No, not the old bank
but
building,
from
right?
LG, that whole corner over to the post office
Right.
is owned by Wayne. So, okay, hearing nothing. Look at this, 8:30. Woo!
Yeah, yes,
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Sure.
All those
Second.
in favor? You
Aye.
got it. Unanimous. Thank you all.
Okay. Thank
Have
you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Be well.
Right.
Thank
Everybody.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Be safe.
And everybody.
Good night.